How you doing, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here at Sweetwater with Josh Fisher from Jesus Culture, and we're here to talk about drums, drumming in a house of worship setting, maybe some tips and tricks to help you and your gig. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
So why don't we talk first about the tuning of your drums and how you get your sound?
All right.
Is this your typical setup? I hate to interrupt you. Is this your typical setup, a four-piece kit like this, or do you play?
I usually play with another floor tom, an 18-inch floor tom over here. So I like to get the beefiest sound I can get, so I'm going to try to get it, as tuned as low as I can without it being too growly or noisy, what I call it, growly. So that's kind of where I started. So you kind of want to get as much low end out of that as you can. So let me show you how I get there.
That's a big sounding drum already. Do you tune down the bottom and the top head completely before you start from scratch?
I do. I like to always start from scratch. I never want to assume that all of these, lugs are, tight. I want to make sure that nothing is loose and rattly.
Okay.
So I just want to check everything first, make sure that nothing's coming apart, nothing's going to fall off on me during the performance or whatever. So I do this with the top and bottom head. So let me just show you. So I'll take it all the way down and I'll play as I drop that. So that's starting to get growly immediately. And now it's just dead. So I'll basically do that. And my secret trick is to use this Evans key with the little gripper on top. So I'll take that key and I'll actually tune the drum just with the gripper. So that'll give me a starting point. As soon as I can't turn that gripper anymore, and I just go around, just like this, I'll play along. So that's done. I'm done right there. So it takes me about 2 seconds to tune a drum, and it also gives me a real firm starting point. Let's say that I've gone around with the gripper and it's still a little growly like this. That just gives me a starting point. Now I know that I just got to give it just a little bit more to get to where I need.
And a little bit goes a long way, too, when you tune drums.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to really crank each lug every time. A little bit can definitely raise the pitch or lower the pitch quite easily.
It does.
Now, what about the bottom head for that drum?
The bottom head, I do the exact same thing. I do the exact same way. I want that to have the most resonance and have the deepest tone as possible. So in order to get that, I just have everything kind of just barely on but nothing loose or rattly. So it's the exact same technique. I use the gripper if it gets me to a starting point. If that starting point needs to go up or down a little bit, I'll always have that controlled starting point right there to tune a drum with.
And I imagine it's the same for your rack tom as it is for your floor tom.
It is. It's the exact same. And it's the same for the kick drum also. For the kick drum, I just tighten until this little lug stops wiggling. As soon as it stops wiggling, then around the front and the back, then that gives me one starting point every single time on every single kit with every single head. So,
question for you about the kick drum. Since you start so loose and you have it really loose to get that deep tone, how does that affect the feel of your pedal and playing of the drum?
I actually run my pedal really loose also. I don't like the pedal to rebound a whole lot, so I just kind of, I like to dig into the kick drum head. And, that's just what feels natural to me. I don't do a whole lot of, fast kick playing, so I don't need a whole lot of rebound. I just like to get a lot of attack, which is a good topic. Well, a lot of people talk about attack in drums, and I don't know if anybody I know a lot of people might not know what that means. So a really easy way to get a lot of attack is to drop your heads down. And again, I'll just play along here. You're looking for that really snappy top end. Basically, that's the attack that you're looking for. Or that is attack, is that's top end. that sound. So I find that the looser the head is, the more attack you get, and the tighter the head is, the less attack you get. If you were looking for a happy medium, the higher you tune the drum, the less attack you get, or the lower, the more you get, and it's you have to find your balance to play with. But again, I just ruined this drum, and it's back to normal, just like that. So I like to approach the tuning drum so I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to be afraid to completely ruin the drum and then know how to get it back like that, so you can experiment really quickly.
So now, going to the snare drum, do you change up your philosophy with tuning on the snare drum, or do you kind of keep it the same?
It's changed up a little bit, but it's mostly the same. I actually approach the snare drum like it's a tom. So I start with the snares off, and I just want to make sure that it's beefy, not tuned too tight, not tuned too loose so that it's, rattly or anything's falling apart. A lot of times, you have a lug that comes loose or whatever, so I actually implemented my own little trick and just went to Home Depot and got a couple of nuts and, just kind of work on the front 5. It's a little obnoxious to have, a wrench with you to tune your drum every time, but that being said, I just came off of, Outcry tour, and I didn't have to. This drum is still tuned from that tour, probably, 10 nights, 10 shows on this drum, and it still just sounds great, minus the rattling nuts right now. But so yeah, I have the same approach. I just want to get this beefy. Sure everything is on there, and then I don't really do this on the toms, but I actually do go across and make sure that everything is completely in tune with itself. And the fastest way that I do that is just what I did. I just kind of, and I try to find that pitch, and then I try to So I just do that, and everything's pretty much in tune. Now, once I get it in tune, then I just lock these guys all back down, and it surprisingly stays really well, and you only have to buy one set of nuts, and they are very cheap.
I think it's worth asking at this point, how come, because some drummers may know, some drummers may not know, how come just the front 5 lugs with the nuts on them?
Yeah, this, as you are just wailing away on this drum, just the vibrations and everything, you're just going to pull wherever your stick is actually rim shotting. Most of the time is where the lugs are going to start to rattle, force themselves loose. So you just want to keep those, tight. And it's also a lot more difficult to get a wrench on the other side of these to fumble around with. But
makes sense.
So, and then now the thing about the snare drum that differs from all other drums is that it has snares on them, which what makes it called a snare drum. So I do have a trick along with that, and I don't know if it's going to translate, but so basically I want to match this tone in the low end. I want to match this tone when the snares are on. And so a lot of people don't really have a very firm understanding about, how the snares affect the drum and all that. But so this is all the way loose, and then I'm going to bring the snares up to a point to where it actually chokes the low end out, and then I'm going to move past that just a little bit to find a nice sweet spot. We'll see how it translates. So I bring it up and choke it out, and then go right past that, and that gives me gives me that tone that I'm looking for. So that's going to give me the most low end that I can get out of my drums altogether. So the key here, the absolute key, is using new heads. If you don't use new heads, then thanks to Diodario and Evans, I get to use new heads quite frequently. So the absolute key is using new heads. I mean, it's like a guitar player and using old, sweaty, gross strings. You know how guitar players' hands are always just like grimy, and they're all, they're just kind of nasty. They're all just always kind of sweaty and nasty. I don't know what it is about guitar players, but we get a bad rap as drummers. Let's give back a little bit. Nasty hands.
Nasty.